Everywhere I turn, people are mentioning the R word. Recession, recession, recession. From banks to retailers to fellow food photographers, as well as social media content creators. They've all got the word recession on their lips. And if you're worried about how you're going to get through this latest recession or slow period in your food photography business and still earn money and still scale up your business, then listen up because I've got some tips for you. Let's go. So the first thing that you need to think about is which type of clients are willing to work with you even when the economy is going through a recession. And there's actually two types of clients that are still willing to spend money at this stage. The first client is your previous clients. Now, these are clients that you know have money because they've spent it on you before. You know that they actually like you as a person and as a photographer, and they also like your work. So the know, like, and trust factor is there. You don't have to hard sell to these clients, and you've gotten great results for them in the past. So really during a recession, these are the first people that I'd want to be contacting. And the best part is you already have their contact details and you don't need to convince them of your services. So when things are slow in your business, whether it's a recession or outside a recession, go through your old client list, send them an email, and remind them why now would be a great time to do some work together. Suggest some campaign ideas. Make these campaign ideas relevant to the time that you're writing them. So for example, right now is October time, which would be a great time to start photographing any Christmas campaigns or Christmas promos. You always need to ensure that any outreach you do is always about the client and what they can gain out of shooting with you again. So as an example, if I'm crafting an email to a brand that I've previously worked with, I would say something along the lines of, "Hey Joe, it was such a pleasure to work with you on the back to school campaign. With the Christmas holidays coming up, now would be a great time to shoot any Christmas promos that you have, as well as use up any last minute Q4 budget. I have some really unique ideas around using your product in a Christmas shoot. How about we hop on a call to discuss this further? Thursday is really open for me in the morning and I'm attaching my Calendly link. Please book a time that suits you and I'm really excited to hear back from you at the soonest." So here I've actually done a few things that I think you should be doing as well. Number one, I've sent this email to a very, very warm, if not hot lead, meaning they've worked with me before and they've been happy with the results. This is not a cold pitch email because I know exactly who I'm contacting and they know me. So I'm not really looking to sell them my services for the very first time. Number two, I'm starting off by reminding them how great our last shoot went. Number three, rather than writing a very generic email saying, "Hey, I'm available," I'm actually going in deeper, which most people won't do, by telling them what great ideas I have for their next promo. So this will rouse curiosity in the brand, which will encourage them to either at least reply back or book in that call. And then last but not least, instead of leaving the email really open, I'm being super specific with my call to action here and actually asking the client to book a call with me, even suggesting a date and a time. So this is a typical email I'll send to a warm client. But speaking of emails, I actually find a lot of my new prospective clients through cold pitch emailing. Now that is a whole other art and science, and I'm actually covering the exact strategy in depth in my free masterclass on how to build a food photography business from scratch. Now, if you want to know the 3 killer mistakes most photographers are making, that's losing them clients and causing them to take mediocre photos, as well as dive deep into what marketing techniques I'm using right now to earn 6 figures in my food photography business, and steal my complete cold pitch email process, then make sure you register for my free masterclass, which I've linked in the description box below. It's chock full of value. Okay, so we've covered the first type of client that's likely to work with you even when it's a slow period or a recession. Now, the second type of client that still has money during a recession are clients who have really large budgets or brands that people use even during a recession. So, for example, during COVID, where a lot of people were losing their jobs, restaurants were shut down, one place that was still thriving and that people were still spending money on was coffee shop. Whilst most people wouldn't be going out to eat, they were still ordering takeaways from coffee shops. And during that time, I actually contacted a bunch of bakeries and coffee shops that I could shoot for that have now become long-term clients of mine. So during a recession, working with old clients as well as clients that are still thriving during this slow period would be my number one place to start. Okay, so the next tip I have for you to recession-proof your business is to actually give more to your client if it doesn't take more of your time. So here's what I mean by this. Let's say you're conducting a shoot for a brand or restaurant, Think about ways in which you can over-deliver to this client, whether it's in the form of a gift, whether it's in the form of a reel, or maybe in the form of extra photo. This is actually a great way to earn client loyalty, even outside of a recession. And my policy has always been to under-promise and over-deliver. So as an example, this was a shoot that I did for a brand where the deliverables included a certain number of still photos. But I love creating gifts for clients, which I then deliver to them free of charge. And this is a gift that I created, which didn't take me more than just a few minutes to create on set. Once I'd taken the final table shot, I took off the dishes from the table one by one. And then when it was time to edit, I actually edited the final shot first, and then I applied the same edit to all the remaining images that I had taken using the sync feature in Lightroom. I then put this together as a GIF on Photoshop, but you can do just the same with a free app like InShot. And then when I delivered the still images to the client, I actually sent them this GIF and told them they could use it for social media purposes without any charge. So it was a really nice surprise to the client. And when you over-deliver, this is what can happen. Besides a client being pleasantly surprised, the likelihood of them booking you again is much higher. But wait for this. When they do rebook you again, the likelihood of them asking for gifts as part of their deliverables also increases. Perhaps they haven't thought about gifts for their business or how they can use gifts for social media. And by you just supplying them this one free gift that probably did really well on social for them has now given them an abundance of ideas of what to do next. So this is a great tip that I like to use even outside of a recession to really gain client loyalty, but also to increase the amount that a client spends with me on subsequent photo shoots. Now, speaking of deliverables, another tip I have for you that you can use during a recession when a client usually has less money or less budget is to actually reduce your quotation or your prices in return for reduced deliverables. So the technique I like to use is something called price anchoring that I actually learned from Alex Hormozy. So what Hormozy suggests is to give clients 2 price points when you're giving out quotations. You start off with a higher price point with, say, X number of deliverables, and then at the same time, you offer a lesser price point with less deliverables. Now, when you do this, besides giving the client options, which who doesn't love options, you actually start off with a high price point, at which point the client may think to themselves, okay, this is kind of out of my budget, I can't afford this. But by giving them the option of a lesser price, the chances are they'll say, hey, yeah, I can afford this price. So this is within my budget. So let's illustrate this point further. Let's say you decide to charge $10,000 for a particular project. If you presented $10,000 to a client who didn't have that much budget, they may decide to turn to a different photographer. Now, on the other hand, if you present to them 2 quotations, where the first is $10,000 for X deliverables, and then the second is $5,000 for half the deliverables, which is what price anchoring is, even if $10,000 is out of their budget, they'll still likely go for that $5,000. This kind of client will feel like they're getting a bargain at that lesser price, even though technically it's not a bargain. So this way, you get to keep the client, even if you're offering less deliverables. The client is happy because they feel like they've gotten a photographer who's within their budget. So don't shy away from giving more than 1 quotation for a project. Now, another tip I have for you to increase your business during a slow time or a recession is to actually diversify your income streams. With any business, especially food photography, it's very dangerous to just rely on one form of income. So, for example, if I was just shooting restaurants and I had no other income streams, then the likelihood of my business surviving during COVID would have been 0. Because, well, all the restaurants were closed. However, even though my restaurant photography took a dip during that time, I was still doing commercial photography. I still continued working with brands on product photography. Magazines were still being produced, so I was still able to do editorial photography from my home studio. Now, if I was just relying on restaurants, I would be in a lot of trouble. So as a photographer, think about ways you can actually diversify your income stream. So for example, could you perhaps sell a digital product like your presets? Shameless plug, I also sell presets and you can find a special discount for them using the link in the description box. But this is a further way in which I diversified my income streams. Now, if you specialize in editorial photography, you could also shoot products. I always say to my students inside Food Photography Bootcamp that there are things that you would do for love, and then there are some things you do for money. So whilst product photography is not like my favorite type of work, I do have a few clients that I actually work to shoot product for. And this really helps to increase my revenue, even though it might not be the most creative job on the block. At the end of the day, I already have the skills as a photographer to do this, so why not just do product for them as well? Now, if you're a food blogger, perhaps you can create and sell an ebook on your blog. Now, at this stage, if you feel like there's no products you could be selling, then affiliate marketing, where you actually promote other people's products, is a great way to earn some extra money. So if you're a photographer, you could do affiliate marketing for brands like Canon, tripods, software such as Lightroom. If you're a food blogger, you could do affiliate marketing for any products that you use on a daily basis, such as knives or equipment. So when it comes to photography, don't just think about photography with tunnel vision. Also think outside of the box of smaller income streams, because when you add everything up, the revenue from all of these can really begin to stack up. Now, at this stage, you're probably thinking, Sukaina, I'm struggling to even find my first client or find consistent clients. And if that's the case, then I'm going to show you the best way that you can actually consistently book clients in this video over here.